This is the book of Daniel, chapter 7, verse 25. And he shall speak great words against the Most High, and shall wear out the saints of the Most High, and think to change times and laws, and they shall be given into his hand until a time and times, and the dividing of times. I'm going to start off by giving all praises, all honor, and all glory to Call Loyam, La Yahweh, Ba Hashem, Yahushai, Ba Hashem, Rachak. Double honors to the apostles and to the elders of Great Millstone who do rule well. Peace and salutations to the Akim across the four corners of the earth, pushing the truth with faith and with sincerity, as well as risking their lives and the freedom to do so. Shalom to the Akwath and the Akim out there listening and learning. Lord, willingly, this is edifying. Shalom to the Israelite foreigners scattered abroad and on land of other nations appearing like the other nations, but whom subscribe to this truth. To you, I say Shalom. This is the brother Yahweh Sap out of the GMS Cleveland Church, a fellow servant, coming at you with another lesson through the Spirit and through the power of Yahweh Shem Shai. Basically, I'm doing a quick lesson on this video by Russell Brand. If you're not familiar with him, I've been doing videos on content that he's been posting lately. Russell Brand is an actor, but now slash, I guess, activist. He kind of bugged out, but at the same time, and he's not, you got to have a particular type of sense of humor. Me, myself, I'm sarcastic, so, I like sarcastic humor, you know what I mean? But truth of the matter is, he's bringing out some truth, and it tells you in the scriptures about how their tongues shall fall upon themselves. So I'm not sure if he's an Israelite. He probably Edomite, but again, that's one of the prophecies. They own people gonna tell on them. The devil is gonna tear his own self down. So without further ado, I'm gonna place this disclaimer first and foremost, and then I'm gonna jump into the video.
You're concerned about wherever you are in the world, surely you're concerned about what's happening in Australia. Are new draconian measures being introduced? Is there a massive protest movement on the rise? Thankfully non-violent. Is that protest movement in danger of being co-opted? Or do people say that it's being co-opted in order to delegitimize the very legitimate concerns of the protesters? These questions and more will be answered in the video you're about to watch right now with your eye holes or ear holes. Hello, 4.5 million of us cannot be wrong, can we? Can we? Of course we can. We're all fallible, but what's going on in Australia? Down under, as we call it, although that is relative, because if you're there, it's us that are, ain't it? Thousands of demonstrators descended onto Melbourne's central business district Saturday, protesting against the Victorian government's new pandemic powers and vaccine mandates. The crowd chanted, "Kill the bill," and "Sack Dan Andrews," as it marched from the Victorian State Library to Parliament House in Spring Street. Many held signs that likened the Victorian government to oppressive regimes. Now,
there's a spirit, because I was just thinking about, he said 4 point something, because he's talking about his followers and all this guy. And although this guy may not have the truth, because he's talking about Kundalini and meditation, which is nothing wrong with meditating, but you meditate upon the scriptures. It's a scripture that say that, meditating on the, I think that's in like Sirach 39, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, you're supposed to meditate on the scriptures, not meditate. I mean, there's nothing wrong with meditating, but like I say, he's into Kundalini and, so he into like, some mysticism to a degree. But the thing is, the Lord uses everything for his own purpose. So just being the fact that he got all these listeners, he's waking people up to something, to lead them astray. It talks about in the Psalm about how King David, I'm talking about let the table be a snare. Now that's going into the scriptures, because you got all these different philosophies and doctrines, and men that call themselves in the truth leading men astray, men and women, the congregation rather. But point being, if he's just speaking on the fact that something ain't right, because like I said, I've been watching his videos lately. Like I said, this guy is straight out of Hollywood, but yet and still the Lord put it on his heart, meaning his mind, to actually come out with the truth of the. I mean, as bugged out as he is, he ain't bugged out that he don't see something is obviously wrong with this government. He's talking about metaverse. He's talking about these big wigs and CEOs and these billionaires. You know, so I said that to say all that. And then he said about they basically the Australians are talking about kill the bill. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if the next place where they do the lockdown for the unvaccinated to be in Australia. You know, because basically they rolling this out. You know, it's called gradualism. You know, slowly but surely, increments. Because when you change something, that's just like it was a show. I mean, an episode of the '70s show, and he was talking about how it was Cheech Marin. I mean, Chong. What's his name? You had Cheech and Chong. Cheech Marin went on to play on Nash Bridges, and he was more successful. Chong, he basically was a Northern Kingdom Jake as well, but he only like really thing that he got into after the Cheech and Chong movies was the '70s show. And, he had a cousin on there. I can't think of what this actor's name is, but basically he was called Leo on the '70s show. And he sold weed and he smoked a lot of weed. He the one that really got. That's where they used to connect and cop they weed from. You know what I mean? Anyway, long story short, he had a cousin that basically worked on he did construction, and basically he had stopped getting high, but then being around the foremans and whatnot and all them little kids, they little crew, they all got high, so he started getting high again. And basically he changed the basement. He was supposed to renovate their basement, but what he did was he moved everything an inch to the left. He was like, and watch how your life change. So that's what, you know what I mean, gradually moving inch by inch. People don't see the change, but it's being changed regardless. You know, that's just like if you like say if it's in a classroom and you move the desk like a half an inch, which is you know what I mean, but an inch, say an inch a day. By the time that you done move this desk, by the time they realize that you moved the desk, you done moved it. You know what I mean? And that's what, you know, that's why gradualism is, because, you know, that's why they do a lot of distractions and whatnot. You know what I mean? You know, it's sleight of hand. You know what I'm saying? Like you got stage magic and you got real spiritual magic. You know what I mean? And stage magic is just sleight of hand. I keep your attention over here while I'm doing something over here. You know what I mean? You know, this Kyle Rittenhouse shit is nothing. You know, come on, this is the first time I've heard in history. And the judge can do a lot of different stuff, but you rarely hear about a judge allowing this guy to pick his own jury. And then just so happen he gets off. Like, get the fuck out of here. Like how the one because I forgot what state it happened in. This guy was not from that state, but showed up like somebody sent him there, and it was a Jake that was speaking on. He was like, he's not even from here. So you know, the guy Blake got shot. He didn't even have a knife in his hand. They saw what they found and recovered a knife afterwards. So how much more so is this guy coming down to a state that he's not even a resident of and shooting people, and they letting him walk away and then basically beat the case? Showing you again how this place is not set up, it's not fair, it's not on equal footing. You know what I mean? It's not set up for Jake, but Jake is so fucking just lost. And I can understand, you know, I've been hearing brothers say they can understand certain things, they've been getting revelations. I can understand why the Most High is going to kill 2/3 of his own people. Because you can't do, you know, the brother from Mississippi, the elder, made a statement. No, not Mississippi, Salakia. The brother from Alabama, the head of Alabama, he made a statement and he broke down about the the fig tree that Yahweh Shah cursed. And it was deep how he broke it down, because he said basically when he went to Yahweh Shah was hungered and he went to go eat off of the fig tree and it wasn't no food on it. It wasn't nothing to eat. So Yahweh Shah cursed the fig tree and it withered up. He said because it wasn't producing any fruit, it was worthless. And that's 2/3 of our own people. So they got to be destroyed. I salaki for the digression. I did not mean to do that. You know, that's just you know, the spirits like to win. But it made me think of when he said kill the bill. Made me think of the scripture in the book of Isaiah. Because at the end of the day, these is unrighteous decrees. When you go into what these people basically, they turn to be totalitarian in their rulership. They, you know, it's not about the people anymore. It's about what they say. Take the time to think about these measures, these austerity measures that they're pushing. They're saying that basically that this shit don't even work, but you gotta, as far as this concoction, this healing method that they're using, yet and still you still gotta take it, even though it doesn't work. This is the book of Isaiah chapter 10, verse 1. Woe to them that decree unrighteous decrees and right grievousness which they have prescribed. And that's what Australia is signed a crown about. You know what I mean? These people are grieved by the mandates that they're pushing. To turn aside the needy from judgment. Who is the needy? You so-called blacks, Hispanics, Native Americans, Seminole Indians, and West Indians and Haitians. The true Israelites. And take away the right from the poor of my people. Who are the poor? You so-called blacks, Hispanics, Native Americans, Seminole Indians, West Indians, and Haitians. The Israelites. That windows may be their prey and that they may rob the fatherless. I'm going to go back into the article. The video. Bear with me for a second.
With Luke Kemp, who's a Parliament House in Spring Street. Many held signs that likened the Victorian government to oppressive regimes. Now, on our podcast, Under the Skin, we spoke with Luke Kemp, who's a researcher at Cambridge University, who said that many of the emergency measures being introduced worldwide are negatively affecting liberty, and that he had concerns that many of these measures would not be revoked, and that there was a degree of opportunism around the pandemic while not offering an opinion on the medical aspects. And that's what I would like to reiterate here while making this video. The medical component, the treatment of medical emergencies, these are all areas way beyond not just my remit, but actually my interest. What I'm concerned about is the behaviour of powerful institutions, potential collaboration between powerful institutions and private interests, and more important than anything on this sweet little sphere we live upon, individual and collective human liberty. The new pandemic laws, which replace the state of emergency powers that expire on 15th of December, will allow the Premier and health ministers to declare a pandemic and make public health orders. In a democracy, decisions ought be participatory, oughtn't they? If you have bills being passed where ordinary people can't participate in the organisation of their own lives, that for me makes more pronounced something that's been going on for a long time. We are losing freedom. We are losing rights.
It's the book of Psalms chapter 94, verse 20. It says, shall the throne of iniquity have fellowship with thee, which frameth mischief by a law? So the throne of iniquity is this government, you know what I mean? This government that's basically supposed to be founded on the biblical principles of the Bible, the sound principles of the Bible, which actually is not. If this place was actually founded on the scriptures, it wouldn't have homosexuality at a rampant rate that they have. When Biden's administration, really Obama's, but Obama passed a law for these fucking these moles to have rights and whatnot. And then Biden came around and basically passed laws for the children to actually be able to, a boy could say he a girl could say he a boy, turning the things upside down. So, that's what, contribution, Obama and Biden weirdo ass contribution to America, to his legacy. It showed you the freakism and the wickedness of this place. So the scriptures talk about, shall the throne of iniquity have fellowship with thee, which frameth mischief by a law. Because basically they do a lot of their witchcraft through these laws and mandates. You know what I mean? They'll pass a law and then tweak the law to the purpose that they want to. You know what I mean? Like with the Patriot Act. Like when you go into the Patriot Act that Bush Jr. passed, and I always wonder why he made that statement. He said, for years from now, people will understand what I accomplished. You know what I mean? What I did. And, I remember at one point in time, because I lived during his era and, I wasn't a child, so I can remember it very clearly. He was considered the worst president of all time. Now you got Obama, they say was the worst. Now Biden is the worst considered of all the time. You know what I mean? And his regime is way more worse. I mean, way worse. I don't know if it's way more worse is a word, but, I don't think that's proper grammar. But nonetheless, this ain't my native fucking tongue anyway. Fuck this bastard ass, stupid ass language. Anyway, his administration is way more draconian because they doing shit and they don't even respond. They don't give a fuck. So you can't see that they literally gonna be that. they could be that. It's quite possible that they could be that administration that just come in full force martial law. Because it's funny now, Ohio is basically banning the vaccine mandates. All these different states, and this is all division caused by Yahweh Shem Yahushua, called Loyam La Yahweh Shem Yahushua. Because if you know anything about energy and power, all this old conflict causes shit. It takes a positive and a negative to actually create power. That's why you got a positive and a negative charge in your battery in your car. That's a law of electricity. That's how you get a spark. So with all this conflict, because you got people on one side and you got people on the other side, what do you think that's going to cause? That's going to cause something. Yeah. Let me see. I have 3 more scriptures.
You can decide for yourself whether it's a price worth paying or a necessary price. But for me, this is something that takes considerable contemplation, assembly, debate, and most of all, consensus. And if you don't agree with that, that's cool. But what you're saying you don't agree with is a little old thing called democracy, which I thought our governments were meant to be fond of. It's the word they use most when cudgelling us into idiocy. The protest came a week after about 3,000 people attended a protest last Saturday calling for the resignation of the Victorian Premier. Because I'm English, when I hear Victorian, I just think, is this all happening 150 years ago? So far, 86% of eligible Victorians, don't you dare talk to me like that! Now get up that bloody chimney! Have now received both doses of the COVID vaccine, with 92% receiving the first dose. Critics of Victoria's proposed new pandemic powers legislation say it's the most extreme of its kind and will give the Premier and health ministers too much control. Let's have a look at how it was handled on the proper news.
Good evening. Thousands of people have brought the city to a standstill. The protesters again fighting proposed laws that would give Daniel Andrews the power to declare a pandemic.
Firstly, I like it when the news person's just stood up like that in front of a curvy screen. It's nice. We should get what have we got? A woodshed? They got a curvy screen. Where's our curvy screen?
You couldn't see a square inch of the road, tram tracks or footpaths beneath a sea of frustrated Victorians stretching for blocks down Burke Street.
Okay, so already the first thing I'm thinking is a lot of people are at that protest, so a lot of people are pissed off.
Returning for the largest rally yet against the Premier's proposed pandemic laws.
What concerns me? Well, personal freedom, personal movement, medical apartheid.
It's indicated that ordinary people are idiots. There's a kind of condescension continually in certain types of media. Oh, the great unwashed, proletariat, punters. These kind of terms, these dismissive terms used for people. You listen to these people, articulate. I'm concerned about freedom, collective freedom, medical apartheid. Yeah, these all seem like legitimate concerns. All these people being here is an indication that they care. So you either accept that they care and do something about it. That's not an option. So you have to delegitimise it. The process of delegitimising their protest has to begin. Oh yeah, the thing is they don't understand, or they're stupid, or they're led by nefarious people. Right? Let's see what happens.
They came from all directions, starting at the State Library, swarming through the city, carrying the Madonna
Okay.
and a familiar-looking punching bag.
The thing with the punching bag is it does undermine the idea that it's non-violent. Right, we're having a non-violent protest, so we've got this punching bag.
It's just a memento for today. It's not about punching it. We're about a peaceful protest.
It's not about punching it, it's about a peaceful protest. Shouldn't have put it on like a punch bag, could have put it on a flower.
And really understanding why we're here, to kill the bill.
Neither is it about killing.
There's an election coming, and they'll have to answer to all these people.
A fact not lost on Craig Kelly or Bernie Finn.
We have all had a gutful.
I really love Australian politicians, because if you're used to English politicians, I would say that Her Majesty, it's all like that. These geezers, I'm sick of it. I'm pissed off. They talk like I'm a normal Australian. Oh, you're out of order, mate. Like angry people shouting in a car park.
No politician should ever have this power.
It's up to us to become proactive in the political process and make our voices heard.
Seems pretty nice. It's all different age group, different variety of people. Wherever you are on the political spectrum, people coming out and protesting is very important. It's necessary. This is not mob mentality. Of course, it should be taken as read and understood that when I talk about protest, I mean non-violent protest. I mean non-cooperation. I mean people coming together to build a better...
And I'm not advocating for violence, but what I'm saying, all this non-violent shit literally goes into Because that's not scriptural. It tells you in the book of Daniel, and I've been in Daniel for a second now, the book of Daniel is very powerful. But literally, it talks about how the saints shall take the kingdom. Because all kingdoms are basically taken by force. It's just kind of like how with this new system that they're implementing, you have a system in place. In order for the new system to actually be put in place, the old system has to be destroyed. Bear with me for a second. Um, no, I'm not gonna get it. I'm gonna wait, see if the spirit lead.
Fairer world.
Many of the people that you see here are just normal, everyday people worried about their jobs, they're worried about their kids, they're worried about their rights being infringed, and they want to take a stand for it, and good on them.
Yeah, that's what it is, isn't it, that people feel? People feel like their lives are being encroached upon. This kind of protest becomes inevitable when the democratic process breaks down. It is a response to people feeling not heard. People don't want to go marching around in the streets like that. Well, some people do, but most people just want to be left alone to live their lives.
Enough is enough. Business is already hard enough as it is without having these political rocks thrown in their road.
The legislation introduced by the Andrews government would allow the Premier to make an indefinite declaration of a pandemic and state of emergency. That's why.
Yeah, it was coming. I knew that through the Spirit, the Lord was going to give me some. This is the book of Daniel, chapter. I'm going to start at verse 23. Daniel 8:23. And in the latter time of their king, when the transgressors are come to the full, a king of fierce countenance and understanding dark sentences shall stand up. So, look at this Edomite. Now, it talks about in Thessalonians about how the man of sin shall be revealed. 2 Thessalonians chapter 2. And who is that man of sin being revealed? You seeing how this devil is really truly the devil. With these draconian measures, showed you how he it talks about in the scriptures about if one can't be, it's roughly paraphrased, if one can't be kind to themselves, who, like, basically those that's cruel to themselves, whom could they be? Like, basically talking about how this devil, I'm butchering it, Salakia, I'm not about to look for it, but it talks about if he cruel to himself, how basically he's gonna be cruel to other people, roughly paraphrased. So during the pandemic, I remember they was talking about how they was beating, people got beat up for not wearing a mask by the police, and these dumbass police is just on it because they selfish. Like, it's kind of reminds me of this job I got working with this nigga. This nigga go tell on everybody. But then as soon as somebody tell him, he'll be feeling some kind of way. Like, what kind of retarded ass niggas you? Like you said, like, man, the fuck, like ain't gonna stand for nothing. So yeah, may that nigga take the chip and the metaverse and all that shit, bitch. Like, seriously, like it's like, say again, to go back to what I was saying about the 2/3. Some people a lot is just, I told this man the truth, and this man literally act like he get it. Then he run to go tell Esau. Like, just like, verse 24, and his power shall be mighty, but not by his own power, because at the end of the day, it tells you that the Most High ruleth in the kingdom of man and give it to whomever he will. It talks about all things in the book of Ecclesiasticus, all things bend to the will of Yahweh Shem Yahushua, because everything is created for his purpose. In the book of Isaiah, it talks about he created the good and he created the darkness and the light. He created the good and the evil, or the good and the wicked. It tells you in the book of Proverbs that Most High created all things, even the wicked, for the day of evil. So this devil doesn't have power on his own might. At the end of the day, when you take the time to think about it, Esau is weaker than Jake. That's why Jake excels at all, in all the sports. Elder Malcolm was speaking on that, and he's a lot older than me, so he has a lot more wisdom, and that's why I look up to this man. He literally was like, he always wondered how is they dominating, but when you actually understand the scriptures, that's how the Most High ruleth in the kingdom of man. He took this weak, base-ass man and exalted him to a king. We was just talking about this at camp. You know, Esau can do some shit. That's how you know we gonna need some spiritual power. You're not about to be able to beat this man with, like, this ain't no fucking movie. You know what I mean? Like, you do the, I remember when I was young and naive and thought movies was real and shit, like, to a certain extent. Yeah, movies are based on some reality to a certain degree. Art imitates life, but no, like, the shit that it, well, no. You know what I mean? Don't get me wrong. Lucky punches in the will of the Lord. Look at Judith. Judith was able to overcome a man, but not by just physically fighting him. She had to seduce him. Then off with his head. You know what I'm saying? It says, and shall prosper and practice and shall destroy the mighty and the holy people. Verse 25, and through his policy, which that's what they was just talking about, this administration, Australia's administration, are basically it's passing legislation where they can declare a state of emergency at any time. So these motherfuckers really just flat foot going into a dictatorship mode. And that's not just in Australia, that's all around the world. They just, you got different countries implementing it in different ways. But you gotta remember, we are in the NWO. And through his policy, meaning the passing of his laws, his legislation, also he shall cause craft to prosper in his hand, and he shall magnify himself in his heart. And by peace shall destroy many. He destroying many by these laws that they passing. They trying to come after the guns, the legislation with the guns. And you got dumbass people that's going to really actually, you know, oh yeah, we'll give them all the power. Like I said, that was the reason why literally you got these Edomites, dumbass Edomites don't even understand. That's the reason why the forefathers put the right to bear arms in the Constitution. So the government couldn't just become powerful to the point where it's uncontrollable. So the government didn't turn into a beast. And by peace shall destroy many, he shall also stand up against the prince of princes, but he shall be broken without hand. So take the time to really look at this devil's mindset. This is why he's the proudest fucking creation on the planet. This devil is going to try to stand up against Yahushua Mashiach, the prince of princes, the king of kings, Lord of lords. He's going to try to stand up against the almighty son, our big brother. A man with spiritual power that could call upon the Elohim to, you know what I mean? Like, come on, man. And that's just pride. But he's gonna be broken without him. Man, it's gonna be easy work.
Indefinite, no boundaries. Give the health minister power to make broad public health orders and grant authorised officers the power to detain people under quarantine. Limitless power, no clear boundaries, and the ability to detain. That is terrifying.
I'm not an anti-vaxxer, I'm not a pro-vaxxer. I'm a pro-choicer. So it's all about choice. Our body, our decision.
The central theme of the protest has been freedom from government control over movement, vaccine mandates, and now from laws which have been framed by some legal and political critics as allowing unchecked government interference into people's lives. The legislation has been criticised by the Law Institute of Victoria, the Victorian Bar Association, the Human Rights Law Centre, who say it's lacking oversight mechanisms and transparency. There is a legitimate fear out there that this puts more power in the government's hands, and there's been very little effort by the government to communicate what this bill is about to the wider public. We got this bill, and what it's going to do is place more power in our hands, and we won't have any time when we have to stop it. Would anybody like an orange? What did you say? Would you like an orange? Yeah, but before that, I think I offered you a banana. While the Victorian government, forsooth, has said the orders will be similar to the public health directions used during the COVID-19 pandemic around quarantining and restrictions, the order powers are very broad. Under the legislation, the minister may make any order that the minister believes is reasonably necessary to protect public health. I believe that's reasonably necessary to protect public health. We're going to have to back it up. I don't have to. I think it's reasonably necessary. That's too vague a language for a law. The powers will also allow the minister to issue pandemic orders to specific classifications of people, such as by where they live, an event they attended, their age, vaccination status, job or living arrangements. When has this ever been acceptable? These kind of taxonomies around where you live or an event you attended. That's terrifying. Hold on a minute. It says here you've been to a Miley Cyrus concert. Well, yeah, no, I like her. Get the old quarantine, son! If a person refuses to comply with an order, they can face fines of up to 91 grand or 2 years in jail. For businesses, the fine is either 454,000 or up to 2 or 3 times the commercial benefit gained from the non-compliance. The Law Institute of Victoria raised concerns that the declaration can be in place indefinitely. The Institute said there was no time frame for a maximum period of detention. Bloody hell. Clarity on where people would be detained. You're going to be there forever. Where? I'm not telling you. And there's no independent external merits review on the detention review process. Can I get a review? No. He said the privacy protections do not go far enough and the allowance for the sharing of personal information for permitted purposes should be reconsidered. Well, having looked into this, I can see why the people of Australia are concerned. But Australia, let me tell you from England, your mother country, that we are right with you. You're confronting something that sounds very unusual and fearful, and this is not just Australia's problem. This could become the world's problem. And perhaps if you're interested, is nuance about, oh, maybe some people at that protest were right-wing or left-wing. Well, listen, if particular parties in government were open to the interests of ordinary people, protests wouldn't be necessary anyway. This is not just Australia's problem, this is America's problem, this is the world's problem because it's a human, global problem. And if you care about humanity and if you care about the world, you've got to care about Australia. But that's just what I think.
Salakia. That's enough of that. I'm going to end it on this. So based on all that, you got all these people in unrest. Matter of fact, it made me think of another scripture in the book of Proverbs. It talks about in the book of Proverbs. It talks about when the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice, but when the wicked bear rule, the people mourn. This book of Proverbs, chapter 29, verse 2. When the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice, but when the wicked bear rule, the people mourn. And you got people mourning right now. And being that mourning is going to lead to 2nd Ezra chapter 15. Salakia. 2nd Ezra chapter 15, verse 15. For the sword and the destruction draweth nigh, and one people should stand up to fight against another, and swords in their hands. That's going into the race riots. That's going into this country that's supposed to be, all these different nationalities coming together, being Americans, showing you how that shit was all witchcraft based on like the modern day Tower of Babel. It's showing you how you people are really divided. You never really together. That's why you got, if in any major city, you got different sections of the city where you got Chinatowns and where Jake dwell and where Issachar dwell and all these different, and they, like, for instance, when you go to New York, you had the 5 points. You had different groups of people that lived in the 5 points, and even in Cleveland, we mimicked that, in the Collinwood area. When Jake used to have to go over there and you had Esau living in that Collinwood area and Jake used to get terrorized then. It's always been like that. It's always been division for real. So this, one people standing up to fight against another is these race riots. Shit, hell, even, Esau gonna be fighting against Esau because you got these non-vaccinated versus the vaccinated. You got police officers that literally left the force because they're not agreeing with it. You got military that literally left the military because they're not agreeing with it. You got special forces that left the military and they feel some kind of way about their government. But then to show you how stupid Esau is and they really like just shooting from the hip, they done let these people quit their jobs because they're not getting this concoction. But then to make up for the shortage of officers, they going to hire unvaccinated police officers. That's like a slap in the face. Verse 16, for there shall be sedition among men, evading one another, because they're not agreeing or respecting or they not, like I said, they don't like the way the government is going. And then compile that with, food prices and the cost of the rising cost of inflation and, just the lack of jobs and all the different other things that's going on. That's why people, you have millions of people quit their job. Expect more and more left-hand shit to go on. You're going to have more of these rampages. The Lord going to be putting them spirits of vengeance on people to just enact judgment. You mark my words. Because it's been a lot of judgment this year so far. Then you just had this blood moon and all that. So, verse 16, for there shall be sedition among men, evading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes, meaning the authorities, their government. And you seeing that now, you know what I mean? It's so to division. Like I said, I did a video. You had politicians threatening. I'm talking about not just I'll slap you in the mouth, but talking about I'll kill you, your kids. This is a politician. This is like somebody in politics. This is somebody, one of your governing officials, one of your heads, your leaders that you trust in. In the course of their actions to stand in their power, meaning they're going to try and control their own situations. So when it come down to, like I said, when it's less goods on the shelf, you think they going to, or when it come down to, they might have a curfew because the crime might be up. You think they're going to be adhering to that? Brothers tend to quote that guy, what's his name? Salente. I can't think of his first name, but he say when people lose, when people lose shit, they lose it. You know what I mean? Roughly paraphrase. So you about to see people lose it. So if you a so-called Black, Hispanic, Native American, Seminole Indian, West Indian, or Haitian, I implore you to come back to the laws, to the statutes and commandments of Yahweh Bashem Yahushua. I implore you to repent and come back to the laws, statutes, and commandments, or you will be destroyed. And with that, I want to give all praises, all honor, and all glory to call Loyim, La Yahweh, Bashem Yahushua, Bashem Rachakodas Bakatham. Double honors to the apostles and to the elders, the great millstone who do rule well. Peace and salutations to the Akim across the four corners of the earth, pushing his truth with faith and with sincerity, as well as risking their lives and the freedom to do so. Shalom to Aquathi, Akim out there listening and learning. Lord willing, this was edifying. Shalom to the Israelite foreigners scattered abroad in the land of other nations, appearing like the other nations, but whom subscribe to this truth. To you, I say shalom. Until next time, I'm able to come with another lesson. Shalom, shalom. Mawat lababal, shalom.